Hey, this is Tash Street with Positive Out Loud. Today we have a beautiful guest named Walkyria Whitlock. She's been traveling the world, doing her thing, and going with the flow. And a lot of things have been created because of that. She's created a wonderful book called I Love What I've Forgotten. It's a poetry book. She's also created the PlayNet application, which is about to launch. And that is helping people get connected in the community with events that they love to do. And another thing that she has created is called Global MVB Nonprofit. And what that's doing is helping children ages 12, was it 12 to 18 or 12? Yeah, around that age, to get into the VR application, but doing it in a way that's going to help them meditate and find peace and be in this wonderful atmosphere of tranquility and getting to know who they truly are. So I think that's incredible that you're doing all that. Thanks for being here, and tell me a little bit about where you started your journey. What was it like? And then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so I am from Idaho. I'm from Filer, Idaho, a little small town. And my journey really started the only reason I'm bringing up, like, I'm going to start when I'm 20 years old. And then we'll go back into my history a little bit. But the reason I'm starting there is because I was so depressed. I was so lost. And it's usually those moments, of uncertainty. You're like, suffering is fertile ground, right? It's where something can start and grow new. So I was mentoring college freshmen. I was exercising, eating right, going to counseling, but I was so depressed. I had suicidal thoughts and I just couldn't understand why, and I couldn't shake it. And I was introduced to mindfulness and meditation, and it completely changed my life. So I started writing again, which had been something that I did when I was younger, and it was just a way that it opened up my expression for myself and helped me to see what exactly my gifts are. And when I look back, it makes sense why I was depressed, because I had this childhood that had a lot of trauma and I didn't take any time to feel. So I grew up, my dad, he was addicted to meth at one point, and or when I was younger, and then he was abusive towards my mom, and they ended up getting a divorce, but he was still in my life until I was about 8 years old, and then he completely left and he was homeless for about 10 years, so completely out of my life. My mom married somebody new, and he also had those, like, same anger coping mechanisms, and, it was tough. It was really tough because that's the atmosphere, that's the environment that you're in, that you're used to, and you think that it's normal, but it doesn't mean that it's easier for your body or your emotions to navigate, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're there, you're in it, you're dealing with it. You think that this is how everyone else goes home as well. And it's not actually the case. But it led me to these certain, like, beliefs and thought patterns myself. And when I was 14 years old, I got into trouble. I was not doing the right things or hanging in the right crowd. And then I was involved in rape, and it was statutory rape. I gave consent. However, because of the age difference, it was completely not okay. And I was used. It took me about a month to, like, understand that. And I attempted suicide. So it was really hard. I went to counseling then, and when I was 17, the same not the same thing, but I was raped, and I didn't tell anybody about it because of everything that had happened with everyone finding out and all of
Hmm.
the stuff that happened at school. It just everything was really difficult. So I just completely cut myself off from feeling, and I focused my energy at that age when I was younger into extracurriculars, being involved in school, being good at school, going into a lot of sports, and that helped me for a while, right? And it gave me something positive to focus on. But what
Hmm.
really was needed was for me to feel, and in feeling there is healing. I really believe that. So
Which a lot of young folks do. They get into like, and their parents kind of push them sometimes too, but they get into all these different extra activities. They don't, and they're going, and they don't really have time to sit back and and realize how they're really feeling inside or what's really going on. So that's why I think it's so important for parents to sit down with kids and periodically just say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And make that a priority in life, right?
yeah, absolutely. Like just taking a moment for
Hmm.
yourself to feel that moment, especially in moments of positivity, right? Like soaking those up more, being like more intentful for that. But
Hmm.
um that is ultimately what led me to mindfulness and meditation. But the journey that it's brought me down has been absolutely incredible. It truly has been a fairy tale.
So do you consider that you were pretty depressed and anxious throughout your whole childhood and adolescent life, or?
My I would say it was my teenage years that I
Mhm.
really struggled with depression.
Mm.
Yeah, it was really hard. I wouldn't consider myself at that point like an anxious person. Just um actually, like, I was happy, but then super duper negative when it came to anything with family or with men, and
Mhm.
it was really hard. And
Exactly.
so, yeah. So you have to change your thoughts, right? And like how you're thinking about those things to help the environment to change. But what I ended up doing, so obviously you can't change other people, right? So
No.
I we all understand that. Um hopefully. And so what I ended up doing when I was 20 years old, because I decided I wanted to share my gift, I wanted to write, and I could sing, I wanted to sing. So I dropped out of school, and this is only because I wanted to switch my major, and my parents were like, "Absolutely not, like, we won't support that." And so instead
Dropped out of college, right?
I did, I dropped out of
Okay.
college,
We want
yeah,
to make sure we
sorry.
want to make sure it's not high school, college. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was at Boise State. I dropped out, didn't really know what to do, where to go. One of my friends, he said, "Well, hey, you can live at our house." It was a frat house, and I lived in the basement of a frat house. I did that for about 3 months, and then one of my best friends, so we had met when we were in high school at this thing called Girls State, which is mock government for a week where you go and you live at this college, and then it's really cool. It's
Mhm.
mock Congress. And anyway, we met when we were there, and she invited me to come move to Fiji with her.
Oh,
So
okay.
I know.
And so you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go to Fiji.
Exactly. Yep. So I did. I sold my car.
Mhm.
I moved to Fiji. I only had $50 to my name after the plane ticket. Like,
Oh wow. Yeah.
I know.
Expensive plane ticket, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because my car, I sold it for $850, and the price of a one-way ticket. I only bought a one-way ticket,
Oh,
which
okay.
I didn't know anything. So that's like what's I think is even more beautiful is that you really can like do all of the things that you want to do. You're as prepared as you need to be in that moment, and that you will learn what you need to learn along the way, right?
Hmm.
You have everything. And so I went to Fiji. It was incredible. It it really was. My best friend, she was dating the prime minister's son. And
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, so I got to go to the prime minister's house and like really learn about a different style of government, which was cool.
Hmm.
Learning about how different countries solve their problems, right? Because
Right.
you have it's considered a third world country, and I don't know. It's just it was really a remarkable experience. Got to model in a fashion show with a local Fijian designer. It's just these are all dreams, right? That you can make come true if you give that faith, like take that leap of faith and go towards the positive and really just embrace the moment, I guess, too.
So
So
when
while
when you went to Fiji, you didn't have any plans or anything that's going to happen in the future. You just kind of went with what was going on in the moment, or how did that work?
yeah, so the one thing that I beforehand, I was like, I really need to make sure that I have a job, like something when I go there to work and a place to stay. Obviously, I had a place to stay.
Right.
And then I spoke to my friend, and she had a connection with this restaurant that I could volunteer for tips as a waitress. So I knew that I was going there and doing that.
Okay.
Um, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm good to go. I got there. My job didn't start for a couple of weeks, which is awesome too. So I could really like enjoy and explore Fiji. And then when I started working, I worked there for about 2 months and I got picked up on a yacht to work on a yacht.
So what were you going to be doing on the yacht? That sounds really cool.
I was stewardessing, so cleaning and doing service. And I had decided to become plant-based. I actually was vegan
Mhm.
um during that time, but totally like a different vegan than you've ever heard of, probably. Because I did it because I was previously majoring in business and I understand like supply, demand, and I saw all of the waste that was going on with like restaurant when people don't finish the food, and I just thought,
Mhm.
wow, that's so many lives that have been taken just out of like no necessity. There It's just, waste. And I thought that was so sad. So I was like, okay, I can help this by changing my personal demand for it, right? And um what I thought was okay though was eating leftovers, like leftover meat. So if someone was gonna throw something out, then I would eat that. And like yeah. It was like so when I went onto the boat and I told them this, the chef was like, what? It was really hard for people to understand, and that's how I understood like setting clear boundaries. And I had to ultimately I gave up meat completely. Um, but it's just a funny little side bit. Yeah. But
That's it.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. I get onto the boat and it was tough. I didn't like it, to be honest. I really didn't.
Okay.
Um, I didn't like the amount of waste that was involved. That always just like hurt my heart I mean, it still does. Um, but I also didn't like the amount of hours that you work, and it's 14-hour days. It's
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, for 7 days
Cool.
straight, and
Mhm.
often no days off for a month while you have your guest trips going.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work.
It kind of sounds like the cruise ship industry where people are working, I mean, hours on end until, when the cruise is done, then they get a little break. But yeah, it's way too much. Way too
It
much.
is, yeah, it is a lot of work. And my visa ended up ending after 3 months, and so I came back to the US, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I was not going back to school, but thought, okay, well, I do have a way to make money with yachting, so I will go to Florida and get my licensing. So I bought a plane ticket there, and then I only had $100 to I don't know. I was like, "Oh, I don't take much to, like I don't live off a lot, so I don't need much as long as I have a place to stay and a job, then I'm alright."
Yeah, yeah.
And, I get to Florida. I didn't have a phone at that time either, and people had told me, "If you wanna get into yachting in Florida, go to 17th Street." So, I arrive, take the bus, the free shuttle from the airport to 17th Street, walk down 17th Street, find a vegan cafe, go in there, ask someone if I can borrow their phone to look up, like, a hostel nearby,
Hmm.
and there was a hostel right down the road, and I went in there. I was like, "Hey, this is my situation. Um, I can only afford for 2 nights, but I can work in whatever capacity you need, if that could work out for you guys." And they said, "Yeah, you can do some marketing for us." And I was like,
Oh,
"Okay,
cool. Yeah.
cool. Yeah." Someone behind me overheard the conversation, and they said that they're at this restaurant, and it was called Lobster Bar in Florida, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come over to my work? We just opened. They need a hostess." So that night, I go with this guy to Lobster Bar, and I got the job. So I had a job now. I had a place to stay, and my job didn't start for a week. On the third night that I was there,
This is one good point.
yeah,
People talk about, oh, there's no jobs out there. That's the lack mentality, right? There's
yeah.
tons of like jobs like what you were looking for out there where people don't want to do. And yeah, you just got to go out there and make it work,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Just
I
ask.
mean, especially right now, I feel like there's a ton of jobs.
Exactly.
There really, really are. Um, so I was in Florida. I was at the hostel, and it was the third night that I was there, and someone overdosed from drugs, and I
Hmm.
just the whole environment was just not good. So I was like, I'm not going to be in this environment. So what are my options, right? I'm here. I don't know anybody. There's couch surfing. So I look on couch surfing, and I scroll through a few pages to find a female because that's what I felt comfortable with.
Right, right.
And she comes and picks me up, absolutely incredible
Oh,
human.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and she told me, like, I told her my situation and everything, and she's like, "Don't worry, you can stay here as long as you need to." And yeah, I'm really grateful for her. She's a huge blessing. So after 1 week of staying there, I started my job, and I had to ride the bus to my work. And the bus was 3 hours because I
Oh
had to
my God.
switch to like three different buses because she lived quite a bit away from Fort Lauderdale. It was like more in plantation area, but
So it sounds like you
um
need to find another job
or find another place
to
to
live,
live,
right?
right?
Right. Yeah.
So I actually got to Lobster Bar, and one of the other hostesses asked me like what my story was because they're like, "Who's this girl that just came in?" And like, and I told her, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, you're living with a stranger. Come live with me." And she's actually one of my best friends to this day. Her name's Sarah too. Like, it's just so I'm grateful. But anyway, she lived a walking distance away. Plus, we
Okay.
worked at the same place. Plus, she was a similar age to me. So it really was just like a huge blessing. After a whole month of working at Lobster Bar, I had enough money to get my courses and stuff. So when I was working in Fiji on the yachts, I didn't have any of the certifications. It was just complete chance. And so when I got to Lobster Bar and I saved up enough money, I scheduled my courses, and then I moved out to a crew house. So a crew house is where yachties live, usually when they're starting out, and it's a great way to network and find jobs. And I was there for a week, got my certification, and I was cooking for people because I also still didn't have much money at this point, right?
Hmm.
So I would just stay home and cook for people for fun. And someone recommended me because of me cooking for them to this cruise chef job. And after 1 week, I had a job on a yacht as a temp cruise chef, which that was a dream of mine at one point. Like, I
Hmm.
could not believe that that came true and just how quickly it all happened as well.
Hmm.
And so I worked on
That's
this
from
boat.
giving to somebody else. You were just
Yeah.
a free meal, right? Or cooking for other people. People
Yeah,
love it when
exactly.
people cook for them. Yeah.
I know. They do, they really do. And, yeah, so I got that job. This was about 8 months from leaving Fiji, or from leaving home. Anyway, I hadn't been home in 8 months. I go back to my mom for Christmas that year, and I think that was like a super emotional time, but it was really when we started healing and like addressing things. And um yeah, it was beautiful. I think I've spoken about this, like how when you change and like don't allow certain behaviors in your life, then people change if they want to still be in your life, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And uh, setting healthy boundaries is like showing people where the door is at. And it's been beautiful. Anyway, I just had to add that little tidbit in there because my story, it can, I don't know how much time we have, but I can go on.
With your mother, what kind of relationship did you have with her growing up?
Not much of a relationship. My mom is incredible. She really is. She's super selfless. She just didn't like, we didn't ever connect very deeply.
Hmm.
And we never talked about like problems very much. It was like hard to talk about stuff with her. Um, and we yeah, I, as a teenager, I really didn't, me and my mom never got along. But um it wasn't until only recently, in the past few years, where I changed my perspective as well. I was like, my mom has done so much for us, because you notice things as a child of your parents, and sometimes you focus on like their lack, like, oh, they didn't do this for me, or they did this and this caused this. um
Well,
but
everybody
that's
goes
just,
through that in their 20s. They're reconciling their relationship with their parents. So yeah, absolutely.
yeah, exactly. And then you're like, okay, my mom was doing the best that she could. Even my dad's, right? They were doing the best that they could.
With what they
It's
knew, right? Yeah.
exactly. And really, when you change that, it brings this more empathetic ground for you to like build a relationship with them,
Hmm.
because you're more sensitive. And yeah, it takes strength, of course, but you have that capability in you, I think. And um yeah, but we had a really hard relationship. In fact, during that time we weren't even speaking for months. I would not speak to my mom because of the things that she was saying, actually. And I was like, no, I can't believe that you would say that stuff. And yeah, but then after being in person, you can tell how much you mean to your family, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And we're only trying our best. Every person is trying their best. It's just like bringing more awareness. I don't know. I have a lot of compassion for my mom and what she's gone through. But this is back in 2013 in December. I was going back into yachting, but I just didn't want to be doing stewardessing. I was more wanting to be outside. I was still trying to figure out like how I could be happy in this career. And um it's also, I know it's not a long career because it's about a 10-12 year. If you start in your 20s, you can do yachting for the however long. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll work on deck. And so I got my powerboat level 2. I was in a crew house again. On a Friday, I got a phone call from a yachting agency that a family in the Hamptons needed a personal chef and a nanny. And I was like, okay, like that sounds good. I wouldn't be on the boat, so I wouldn't feel like as constricted. And so
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's do that. I interviewed with them on a Friday, and then they flew me out on a Monday. So I was 21
Oh,
years old.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And the circumstances were tough.
Mhm.
The mom, the reason they were brought in extra help was the mom was very ill suddenly with cancer. It was a super rare cancer, and
Mhm.
they needed to start treatment, and she would be gone for a few weeks, 3 weeks, doing this intravenous radiation treatment. And so 3 weeks of like I've known the family for 2 weeks, and then I'm at home with their daughter and their dogs, taking care of their house without anybody. And I was just like, whoa, like I can't believe that I'm able to do this. But I also just thought like, wow, these people trust me so much. Like, can
Yeah.
I do this? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Well,
And
that's a lot
it's
of
amazing.
responsibility that you took on just all of a sudden without having to do that before at all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And during that time, it was it was really tough, because obviously the mom was so sick, and it was so hard because I actually was a CNA when I was in high school, which
Mhm.
is yeah, you know what it is. So I had that's one of the reasons they hired me as well, because I had like this understanding at that level, plus I could cook. And so, and Maddie, or the daughter, and I got along so well. And
Mhm.
it was a really special but difficult time. And this is also a time where I didn't have pretty much any time to myself, maybe like 2 hours in the day, and I would write. And that was where I grew my writing skills even more. And a
Mhm.
lot of some of the poems in my book are from that period of my life too. But the mom, when she came back, she would be like crying in pain. And um it was only me there with her. And I it was hard. It was like I would be crying and stuff too. It was just um a really difficult time. And then one day she signed a DNR. I had to That's a do not
Mhm.
resuscitate.
Right.
And I called her husband. I was like, hey, could you be here, because she's really not feeling well, and I need to also go pick up the daughter. And he goes like, I'm not feeling good either. I'm just gonna stay. Yeah,
Wow.
which I know. Well, I found out just a couple weeks later that he had filed for divorce at that day, and he was actually planning on serving papers that day. But because of the phone call that she was so in the emergency room, he decided not to, thank goodness. But it was at that
Wow, what a
point that
time to ask for a divorce. Wow.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Yeah, I know. But anyway, she realized at that point that and she was going through obviously a lot of growth herself, and she realized she needed to tell her family that she was sick and that she didn't have to be strong all of the time. It was okay. And her family came and stayed with us for a month, and she went into full remission and recovered.
Wow.
Isn't that so
Eh,
beautiful?
So what you mean her like her parents
Her
or
parents and her brother, and
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
so they helped support her in that. Did the husband stay or
He was around, like at
yeah.
that point the daughter didn't know. Um but they ended up getting a divorce, and at that point in time it was a good time for me to leave.
Hmm.
And during that time period I had been writing with one of my friends, Tyler, and we decided to move to Australia and start music. So we actually started a band, and we lived in a van and traveled through Australia, busking for money, um, down the coast until we got to Melbourne, which is when we like kind of settled at this hostel and both got jobs there.
Hmm.
But it was around that period that I really just felt like I need to do something like purposeful and meaningful with my life. I really wanted to do that. And so there was this thing called bike and build. Plus I felt kind of guilty for not being home for so long. So I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to train and do bike and build. Bike and build is where you cycle across the United States and build homes for affordable housing along the way.
Oh, that
So,
sounds really cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's a really awesome organization, really cool. And I was there, or I was in Boise now, and I realized when I was home, I was like, "Oh, everybody else is like doing their thing. I don't need to feel guilty for going out and trying my stuff because everybody really is like focused on their day to day." And
Yeah.
so, at that time, I was volunteering with Habitat for Humanity and training for bike and build and training for a marathon. And when and I also put on this fundraiser because it costs about like $5,000 to do bike and build. So I
Hmm.
needed to raise all of that money. And I put on this big fundraiser, and you know what? I didn't get the money. I broke even, which was so hard. It was probably the first time in my life that I put like everything into making that happen, and it just
Hmm.
didn't work out for me. And I cried and cried and cried so much that night. And then the next day, one of my friends called me and asked if I wanted to come work on the boat that they were working on. So here I was back getting into yachting. Yeah. So, I go back. I was like, okay, well, I can certainly find a way to be happy doing this. I knew that I needed to change my focus.
Hmm.
And so I started bringing my spiritual focus more to my everyday, like making sure that I'm continuing my meditation and my yoga no matter like how much time I have. And I did that for a couple of years and
So what
decided.
type of meditation and yoga were you doing?
So I do like asanas, like flow, a lot of
Okay.
flowing. Vinyasa is what I do. So I got certified in 2018 as a yoga instructor, and then certified in guided meditation for yoga nidra, which is where you basically lead someone to their subconscious. It's a lot about visualization and opposites and like focusing on different sensations in the body, and then focusing on certain points in the body as well. So,
Doing that by the end of this interview for people?
pardon?
You mind doing one at the end of this interview?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
it
awesome.
takes some time, but how much? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
About
When
how?
you do a full yoga nidra,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be like 30 to 40 minutes.
Oh, maybe that's a little too much.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm like
maybe we'll do it
but we'll
on a
do a
separate
different one.
video. Yeah.
Or yeah, that would be awesome. And then we can do a smaller like 5 minute where this one is quite fun. I think it's like a
Okay.
perfect five
Let's do
minute.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, like started that and I was still searching, still trying to figure out what kind of career, what kind of life that I wanted. And no idea. Still just kind of unhappy with yachting, to be honest. And I was like, okay, I want to try acting because I've always been a bit of an artist. Like, I like expressing myself, I
Mhm.
like living life by your own terms, really. And I was like, okay, I'll go into acting because I think it's so beautiful how you become a master of your emotions and you're really centered in one when you're able to do something like access a different feeling at whatever time. So it was a lot of journeys and fun experiences until that point that I road tripped down the West Coast and moved to Los Angeles. So I was
I was
living out of my
gonna
car.
say that.
Yep. So yeah, I moved to LA. Um, I was there, got an apartment to live in, and like took over a temporary lease for like 3 months. And I didn't like Los Angeles actually. I was like, oh, and then I noticed like this theme. I'm like, I keep trying stuff and I just don't like it. I'm like, oh, it's just
Los
not for
Angeles is
you.
pretty superficial compared to who you are. I mean, people are concerned about the way they look, how fit they are, what kind of car they have. I mean, not everybody, but a lot
Yeah.
of people. Yeah.
No, I didn't feel I felt like it was hard for me to connect with people as deeply as I like to, which is right, but also apparently it takes 2 years to really fall in love with LA. That's what everybody said. They're like, "Just give it 2 years." Yeah.
I love I love visiting LA, and I love
Uh-huh.
seeing, we have all these different towns and the ocean, and yeah, I don't know if I want to live there because it's so crowded, but it is a fun place to be for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I just didn't like the traffic was
Yeah.
what really bothered me, but I've also learned now there are ways to enjoy everything, right? Like listening to a podcast perhaps, or there's just ways to enjoy something. If you really want to do something, then you'll figure out a way to enjoy it. But I decided I wanted to go back to yachting because I liked how present all of the people are. Because when you work on a yacht, like oftentimes you don't have much internet or cell phone coverage at all. And then the job is really present. You're serving, it's not, you're
Yeah.
really just there. You're very present. There's no other place for you to be. And that's really awesome. Like, I loved that kind of perspective that I had taken on it, right?
Hmm.
And a few months go by. I still do it freelance because I like to have my end date basically. Like this is time that I basically can't have any plans, outside plans, but then this is time where I can do everything that I need to with my family and friends
Right.
and personal goals. And I ended up working in the jungle of Costa Rica as a yoga instructor at a surf camp. And
Oh, wow. All these different things that you happen to come across, and it's probably something you never expected, right? They just ha-
no,
they just have to
well,
be there, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
yep, yep. So I did, and It was a fun experience too. It was also a challenging experience because we were living in the jungle
Hmm.
in tents and like just a tarp wall with a tin roof if you were in the bunk room, because I moved from like the bunk houses. You could walk into this place and it's a backpacker community, really, but
Yeah.
so fun. But you have a cement slab on the ground, some bunk beds, some tarp on the sides for walls, and then some tin roofs. And this is in the middle of the jungle. So oftentimes you get like scorpions
Yeah.
or spiders, when I don't like riding buses that much, and I love walking, so I would always walk home, and sometimes walking home, it was a 7-mile walk
Oh,
to the
wow.
middle of
Yeah.
the jungle. There would be huge snakes, like boa constrictor snakes, like crossing the
Wow.
road. I know. I know. I was like, this is, but yeah, when I would walk back at night, other people would walk with me. Anyway, it was super beautiful. You had all of the fireflies, and um, at the end of that experience, I was like, okay, I need to find another job to make some money. And so I decided that I would go, or I put my CV up onto the yachting agency world, and I got a job on a boat called Dreamboat. And it was really incredible. Um, it was a brand new build, and the owner was absolutely amazing. And I decided that, so just to give you some context into how incredible, I think this particular statement will speak volumes. After our first trip with the owner, he had an all crew meeting. So everybody sat down and he asked what he could do better.
That's great. Yeah.
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 That's what you want in a person that's leading, not
Yeah.
somebody that's supervising, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he's the owner. This is his boat where we're there to give him like a nice experience and relaxation away from his busy world. It's just such an incredible human. And so we actually connected really well spiritually. And we were talking one day and he goes, "Have you heard of Deepak Chopra?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And so he sent all of these books to the boat, and I read all of them and I loved them, and they really inspired me, and I felt like, okay, I can create the life that I want to.
Hmm.
I can do this. And so I quit my job and I took 3 months just to focus on spirituality.
Okay.
So this is back at the beginning of 2020. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do all of the things that they say that you should do. So I was waking up at 5 a.m., drinking lemon water, meditating,
Hmm.
doing yoga, doing gratitude journal, listening to the news, like just all of the things that I've ever heard. Like, these are the best things that you can do for yourself. Like, I was doing it. And I just, at the end of 3 months, COVID had suddenly come into like the limelight, and and I wasn't able to go back to work as I thought I might be able to. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I don't feel like I have the clarity of vision or purpose or what I'm going to do. Why am I doing this? And so I realized upon reflection, I'm simply just doing this for joy, right? Like, we just really want to enjoy our lives. And I thought, okay, I will just follow my joy then. It led me down a completely different path. Each day, there wasn't as much forced structure, it was more intuitive. I honestly was doing yoga less, I was doing meditation less, but I was much happier. Um, and I think it was all about having like that balance. And so about 3 weeks into doing this, I also realized these 3 weeks were hugely transformative. I had so much realizations. So many realizations about judgments that I had against myself and like against what I would eat, and um also fears that I had been holding on to. Like I had a fear of commitment and fear of being trapped. And so it's like these are all things that had been coming up whenever I was doing the other jobs and I was like unhappy. It was really like those fears that were really getting to me.
Mhm.
And so one day I wanted to eat a cookie. So I ride my bike to get a cookie at this local little place. And the cookie teller, he's like, "How are you doing through all of this?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing okay. I do yoga and meditation." And he goes, "Oh, me too." And I was like, "Oh, but I'm focusing on my writing and music." And he goes, "I've been really wanting to figure out like some way that I can help people right now. And I would love to help you bring your music to life." And I was like, oh my God, that's
Mhm.
like so sweet. So 3 days later, I'm riding my bike to this guy's house in the middle of COVID and I get a flat tire. So previously I would have thought like, oh, this is a sign that I should like not be doing this. And I was like, this is your fear of commitment like coming in. And like that's what this is. So I got an Uber there. I felt like I like really triumphed that and like recognized that because I think a lot of the times when we see something negative, it's really a guide for us to view something differently within ourselves, like the fears and stuff that we have. I
Mhm.
really believe that. And
And you could stop and say, what is this about? Is this something that should I just not go? I mean, just ask yourself and see if it feels
exactly.
lighter or heavy. And or you can say, is this just something fear is coming up for me? You can always
Yeah.
ask yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly. So I was like, okay, went there and then we were writing music to my stuff that I had had for so long, and it was so incredible. I wanted to cry. I was like, this guy doesn't know who I am. So I'm gonna like keep a straight face right now and like smile and be happy. But um yeah, it was like such an incredible experience. And then the guy was like, so you want to do music but you don't know how to play an instrument? And I was like, yeah, I have a ukulele, but it's hard to like put it with the songs that I have or like the melodies that I have in my head. He goes, why don't you get a keyboard, so it's a lot easier to hear the notes and learn the notes that way. And I was like, okay, like good idea. Awesome. In my head thinking, well, I haven't worked in 4 months now.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no jobs. I don't know how that will happen, but okay. So
Where were
my
you living at this time?
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Okay, go ahead.
Mhm. So my real dad, who a couple, okay, so 2018 was watching a Tony Robbins video. A girl, she was struggling with basically body issues and like eating disorder kind of thing, which I struggled with at that time too. And I was like really trying to figure it out because it wasn't from a body image point, and I wouldn't, it was just something that like innately just happened.
Mhm.
And um he goes, how's your relationship with your dad? And I just thought, oh my gosh, like how is this connected, a, and why do I have to go down this route? So 2019 was my New Year's resolution to speak to my dad, and just a text message. I was like, that's good enough. Like, I can do that. But it took me until October to send him a happy birthday text message. Um, that was tough for me to do. At that point in his life, he had been sober for about 10 years. He's been sober for 11 years now. I'm so happy, so proud of him.
Hmm.
But in 2020, when we're going through this period, he messages me out of the blue, had seen on my Instagram that I was focusing on like creating my music, and he goes, "Hey, do you need anything for your music?" And then that Friday, he sends a keyboard to my house. So it was all serendipity, um, just like so incredible. So I had this keyboard. I was playing the keyboard, like trying to figure out. I got this app so I could learn how to read music. Yeah.
Right, right. That's
Yeah, I'm like, I'm
yeah.
dedicated. Yeah. And about it took me only a day to understand how to read the notes there, but through the app it made it really easy.
Uh-huh.
And then I was able to use another app on my phone so I could sing a particular melody and break it apart so I could get like, okay, this is what this note is, this is what this note is. And then I could look up like these chords, these technically should sound good together. Um, but I spent a whole week on one song with trying to make it sound good with my piano and like adding music to it through a program on my computer, and it just sounded so horrible. And it did. I was like, this
Not easy, right? No.
no. And so I was like, okay, what's another action that I can do that's honoring this experience and bringing this gift to life? Like, that's what this is about. And the guy had told me to write down all of the songs that I wanted to record. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I go through my journals and my voice recordings. And in 20 hours, I had written my book.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was like, "Oh, like this is what this is."
Hmm.
This makes so much sense now because I've also recorded the audiobook and it sounds so good just like a cappella, with
Right.
some nice. But yeah, it's so crazy how like life works. It's really beautiful. And then I was thinking about how I could market my book, and I like had dreamed up this cool event that I could put on, and that is actually how the app idea came to life.
Hmm.
So in 20 hours, I put up like this full display of this design board and stuff through Canva of what I thought this app should look like and be used like. And then, so I had this app idea, had this book. I was like, okay, what is something that I can give that is greater? Like, what is something that has played like a huge role in my life? And I was like, peace of mind. Like, that would be so incredible to give peace of mind.
Hmm.
And that is where the global MVP um, idea took form. And so the idea with that is to help people learn about mindfulness and meditation in a fun way. And um, in like 5 years, I want to be reaching out to communities of people who have like incurable diseases like depression or obesity or homelessness, like to help people to think about themselves differently
Hmm.
to hopefully change their life into something beautiful like they want. So
So tell us a little bit about the virtual reality, what you were talking about here, how that
yeah.
works for the people who or the kids that could be using this.
Yeah. So what it is you would put this VR headset on and then you would be brought to complete nature, like no buildings or people, just nature, just a place for you to rest and like focus on the beauty of nature if you'd like, and just have an escape really, just to find your own peace. And
Hmm.
so then we would walk you through like mindfulness and like what is meditation, but also like setting an intention for your practice. And as you would explore around this map, so the first part of the map I envision as like green, grassy slopes with a mountain in the distance, an ocean in the distance. And when you wander in a different direction, there's these little hot spots of a guided meditation that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And so each guided meditation is focused on a specific virtue, and when you do the meditation with that specific virtue, it unlocks another map. So there's like a game involved in that kind of way where like the more that you do, you unlock new features, you get more points, and you can do different things.
It's a meditation virtual reality game. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it would be like more fun. And so um it will be available on the Oculus platform.
Okay.
Um and people can buy it, like any person could. But what we plan to do is like give headsets with the VR system loaded onto it, to schools so that people can use it like perhaps in a counseling setting or in a classroom setting, just to make it fun, right? Because like
Right.
joy really helps you to continue down the path that you want to go down, right? Whatever you're finding joy in, you can like continue. If you want to work out, you got to figure out a way that you're going to enjoy your workout, or
Mm-hmm.
else, you know, it really, you have to make it fun. And I think that, you know, focusing on joy and enjoying life is the deepest form of gratitude for life, because if you have someone who gives you a nice meal, the you're not going to be like, "Oh, that was such a nice meal. Here, I painted you a picture for it." You know, like the best way to enjoy that meal is to enjoy it. Like that's the best way to say thanks to someone. Like that's what feels the best, I think, as like the creator of the meal. You're like, you love when people enjoy what you've done for them, and I take that and I try to apply it to my life. Like,
Oh,
okay,
even if somebody doesn't like come out and say, "Oh, I really enjoy this," or there's no expectation, but you just did it because you love to do it, right? There's
yeah,
nothing in return that, yeah, exactly.
yeah. And so that's like life, right? Like we're given this life, like there's no expectation that we should enjoy it, but I do believe that it's created for us to enjoy, and that
For
is
sure.
why we have the lives that we have today is humanity. I have like so much hope and faith in humanity, because whatever we focus on, we achieve. And it's all about bringing our focus to the right things, to the good things in our life, to the things that are bringing us into the direction we want to go. Um, but yeah. So that's kind of where I am today. I
Mhm,
am now back home. I spent this summer in Alaska working as a yoga instructor stewardess on a boat,
mhm,
and I'm done with that now, which is so huge. Um, I moved back home, launched my book. I'm working on launching my app and getting funding for my nonprofit, and
mhm.
it's just it's a beautiful life, and I hope that other people can feel that too, you know?
Right,
Like
right.
what a beautiful world of people
Just follow your,
enjoying their lives.
yeah, follow the path that brings you joy, instead of worrying about, oh, I got to have a job, I have to be stable, I have to make
Mhm.
sure that this, all these things are, because sometimes people will follow the path of everybody else, which is never the path of joy. It's just the path of obligation, right?
Yeah. And there's all kinds of people, right? Like um I was in this executive book club meeting the other night, and the topic was about kind of how like when you create your own business, you end up working almost all the time, right? Like there's always something that you're doing, and a lot of people who gave up their 8 to 5, they're like, I kind of missed like having um a step away, like, so there's really value and something positive to look at from wherever you want to be, because like
Mhm.
y- if you are creating a business, it's like having a child in a way. Like you're getting it to a certain level to where it can take care of itself, but it
Yeah,
takes a lot of energy
it
to
does.
bring an
Yeah.
idea to life. And um when yeah, there's just like, I hope that whatever situation that you're in, you're able to find the good in it and enjoy it, and also take the lead to go into the direction that you truly want to go in.
Yeah,
So,
for myself, I have a life where I do work full time for the government, but it's meaningful work. And I have set hours and I work from home. So I could sit here and listen to a podcast while I'm working, or I can I can go up and clean up the dishes or take my dog out for a walk, or and
yeah.
then I can go pick up my child from daycare at the end of the day. It's very flexible. I
Mhm.
can be flexible throughout the day. I can work this hours instead of these hours, and then I can do things like this on my off time that I also enjoy. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's different when it comes to what kind of life that they want to create, and it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a certain way. You don't have to be an entrepreneur grinding, doing your thing, thinking that's going to bring you the most joy. You can kind of do what I'm doing, maybe work full time and then do little things in there that make you happy, or you can do what you're doing. It's just totally up to you. You get to create it all, is the thing. You get to create the life that you want to live,
Yeah.
and don't think that one way is going to be bring you more joy than another way. Just go with the flow and figure it out for yourself. Not figure it out, but kind of go where there's least resistance, right?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Like,
And you can find positive in anything,
uh-huh.
um, as long as you're doing something where you're pretty good at it, because not you're not going to. Everybody's made differently. We're all not going to be the best. Like maybe somebody who's more creative is not going to be the best accountant, or
Yeah, go to your gifts. Like,
yeah, your
look at
gifts.
your gifts, and there's your cue.
Exactly. Well, this has been amazing, the journey that you've been on and how you share that with us. And I love how you went into detail of how that all helped you in your growth and helped you come to where you are right now at this moment in your life, and how things are just going to keep expanding from there. So if
Thank you.
to end this interview, would you like to do that 5-minute meditation now for everybody?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
This one is so fun. We're going to do a smile meditation, okay?
Okay.
So you'll probably want to be in a place where you don't have any distractions or other people that you're thinking about, because we're going to smile as big as we can at some point, okay?
Okay.
So first, get yourself to a nice, comfortable position where your spine is straight. You can be seated or lying down. And we're just going to focus on our breath first. So, taking a deep inhale through your nose. As you exhale, relax your shoulders and draw them away from your ears. Taking another deep inhale. And slowly exhale through your nose or your mouth. And relaxing your jaw, the space between your eyebrows. Take a few more breaths at your own rhythm, allowing yourself to come into your moment. Be comfortable where you're at. And then with your next inhale, I want you to smile. Just a nice, genuine smile with your eyes open. And exhale, relax your mouth. Maybe do any mouth stretches that you might like. And release. And on your next inhale, this time, I want you to smile like someone just brought you your favorite food and you are so excited. So smile, hold, hold, hold it. And now gently relax your face and let it go. Notice how you feel when you smile. Just even that action of smiling, what it ignites inside of you. And on your next inhale, you are going to give your biggest smile possible. Don't worry about anyone looking at you. Just on your next inhale, let's do this, okay? 1, 2, 3. Hold and gently release, letting go, relaxing your shoulders, checking in with your body. And now that you know that feeling of that smile, I want you to scan your body and send a smile to any areas of tension or tightness, and send it a smile. So, sending a smile to your hips or your back, perhaps your shoulders. Sending a smile to your hands and all that they do for you. Starting from your toes, let's just send a smile through each point. So smiling to our toes. With each inhale, a smile, and each exhale, letting go of that tension, of that tightness, of any darkness, of any negativity, just letting it go. And with each inhale, you're sending that smile. We're up to our shins now, our calves, the lower part of our legs, sending that smile, that happiness, that joy, that light. And exhale, letting go. Moving up to our knees. Smile, love, kindness. Exhale, release, honoring, respecting. Up to your hips, your thighs. Let's bring all of that body part together. Stamping it with a smile. And letting go. Realizing it's okay to feel any particular way. We're just actively sending smiles today. Making our way up to our abdomen, to our stomach, all of our internal organs, and being like, hey, I'm smiling at you. I recognize you. I see you. Thank you. And releasing any tension, any negative thoughts surrounding those areas, letting go, honoring your body. Moving up now to our chest and shoulders. What does a big smile look like there? Holding it, relaxing it, loving it, feeling it, and gently letting go, honoring that space, helping you to shed any of the negativity and grow up towards the light. Sending a smile now with our next inhale to our arms, fingertips, our hands, maybe stretching them wide, clenching fists, a big smile like it feels like. And as we exhale now, letting go, releasing. And now finally coming up to our head and sending a smile to our face, to the crown of our head, to the back of our skull. Sending a big smile. Like if you could smile at yourself and give yourself the best things, what would that look like? You have that chance right now. And exhale, releasing, like a little stamp, like a little kiss of a smile on your face. And we'll start to wrap up our practice here, becoming aware of where we are in this present moment and taking the intent of sending a smile, giving a smile, something that we can always give no matter where we go as we face the rest of our day. Gently start to open your eyes. If you take any movements of release, and namaste. The light within me cherishes and honors the light within you. Thank you so much.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a fun one, huh? I'm not sure how long we went, but
No, that's okay. That's okay. And I think that, it's really going to brighten everybody's day. And, I can keep this up as a separate video so people can come back to it whenever they want and experience the smile meditation. That was the first time I experienced it, and it was awesome. So
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't think we pay enough attention to our body. So that's a great way to do it for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you enjoyed that.
Thank you for all that you do, all that you're doing, and how you're just connecting with your spirit, how you're connecting with everybody and serving everybody. You've done so much service already in the world. And imagine what is going to happen for you in the future. I can only imagine, if you're connecting your intention with your heart, and when you do that, only great things can come to you. And when you keep serving and loving people, the karma would just be phenomenal, right? So I'm grateful for our connection, and I will definitely put all the links to all the different things that you have, including your nonprofit, your book, and the Playnet. And have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much.
Is there any last words you want to say? Any truths that you have that you want to say to somebody out there right now?
I'm going to say you can't fill from an empty cup. So if you want to do great things, if you want to help people, you've got to take care of yourself first. And self-care is not selfish. It's how we make sure that we don't have to get taken care of by other people. We can help other people by helping ourselves.
Exactly. All right. Thank you
All right.
again. Have a
Thank
good
you so much. Thank you.